Out of every game showcased in No Game No Life, far and away, chess is the most prominent. It is the game that Riku played against Tet during the times of the Great War, leading up until Tet's creation thanks to the power of the Suniaster. And when he used the Suniaster to recreate the world as a game in and of itself, chess was at the center of it. He created the world so that there are 16 massive chess pieces present on the globe itself. And then he made it so there are specifically 16 sentient races, each of them possessing a single chess piece that represents their entire race as a whole, possessed by the race's representative, and is the game that he challenged Blank to and lost at. And even more so at the end of episode 4, at the end of volume 1 of the light novel, when Tet has his second meeting with Sora and Shiro, Sora points out the overall secret of the world, that the goal is to gather all 16 of the chess pieces together, all 16 of the race pieces, but they must never be stolen from another race. The final rule of the Covenants, let's all have fun and play together, is the true rule of the game. Collect all of them together with all of the Exceed working together, and that gives them the right to challenge God. Even the final phrase that Sora and Shiro said to Tet, "We'll meet again next time on the chessboard." So it's pretty clear cut that the final game of No Game No Life is going to be a variation of chess, but this time on the grandest scale possible. The world of Disboard itself will be the game board on which this game is played. Now, it's all speculation at this point. Nothing has really been hinted at or said in the light novels, even up until volume 11, except for what was said in the very first volume. And I think that is significant, that the first volume sets up the final game of No Game No Life, the game against the god Tet. And I think it's significant that these words, that this conversation that Sora and Shiro had with Tet takes place right after their game against Kurumi in real war chess. And I think the final game is going to be something similar to that, with each of the pieces on the game board having wills of their own, that each of the 16 Exceed have their own race pieces, each of them representing one piece that would stand on their side of the chessboard. And Tet's pieces would be, well, the pieces that are present on the world itself, those massive pieces that you can see on the horizon. Once all 16 of, well, Sora and Shiro's, as well as the rest of the players, are gathered together, those pieces assembled will give them the right to challenge Tet. But I think they will each be controlling their own pieces individually. I have no idea how this is going to work in terms of turn order, whether they're going to have to play their own games to see who ends up moving their piece first, but it might be something along the lines of who can take Tet's king at the end will be the one that eventually wins the game. So it's going to be a game that includes not only all the races present on Disboard, but it's going to have 16 players on one side of the chessboard, each controlling a single piece. Now, of course, Sora and Shiro are gaining allies throughout the course of the light novels, and so the ones who truly have faith in Sora and Shiro would follow their orders or follow their suggestions in how to move to eventually win against Tet. Because they are the only ones who have done so before, the people who know that would be more willing to listen. But I'm sure there's going to be some problem children or some problem pieces on the board that are going to want to do their own thing, and especially given the chance to fight God themselves, might try to take that power for themselves. So I have a feeling it's going to be a game of manipulation and deceit, and trying to plan ahead not only for the moves that Tet is going to make, but the moves that each of the other Exceed, each of the other pieces on your own side of the board are going to make. Now, it's also going to create an interesting dynamic with the fact that Sora and Shiro, Emanity, their race piece is the king. The weakest on the board, but also the most important, because if you lose the king, you lose the game. And that's going to force every other race, every other representative, to protect Emanity. The race that they've ignored for, well, the entire existence of the world, really. They ignored them during the Great War, had no idea that they were the ones responsible for winning the Great War, and, well, they've ignored them ever since then. Until, well, Sora and Shiro put them on center stage by starting to take on other races and win. So this game very likely will be one of the most interesting and complex games that we will see in the entirety of the series. Now, I know I've rambled quite a bit in this video, but my overall theory is that the final game against Tet is going to be played between Tet and the 16 representatives of each of the Exceed, where each of them is controlling a single piece on the board, which is actually their race piece. As for what this means when Tet eventually takes some of their pieces off of the board, I don't know what that would mean for the races themselves, whether Tet actually claims that piece as his own. I don't think he's that vindictive or anything like that. He just wants to play a game against someone worthy, but having 16 pieces on the board, each controlled by different individuals, is going to make for an extremely interesting and chaotic game. That's my overall idea for what the final game in No Game No Life is going to be, and I'd love to hear your ideas down in the comments below. Very likely, based on everything we saw in Volume 1, based on how Tet has built the world, and based on how important chess seems to Tet himself, I think it's safe to say that the game that Tet is going to play, because remember, thanks to the Covenants, the one challenged has the right to determine the rules of the game. Everyone's going to come and challenge Tet for his right to be God, so he gets to choose the rules of the game. And it's going to be some variation of chess. Not regular chess for sure, but I do think that it's going to be on a very grand scale, involving the overall world of Disboard and those large chess pieces on the horizon. I don't think they are just for show, I think they are going to be part of the game. Whether the orientation of them on the world as it is right now is going to play some factor, whether that's going to be some puzzle that Tet's opponents has to figure out, or whether things are just going to sort themselves out like a regular chessboard, and they're going to be played on just a massive scale. Are there going to be terrain bonuses, for example? Because part of the world is ocean. Is that going to play a factor? Or if they're on mountains, or forest, or things like that? Especially since there is a god of the forest, Cainus, who created the elves. So if the elf race piece lands on a forest space, are they going to get some bonuses to attack power or something like that? We saw in the game of Real War Chess that charisma and willpower, your ability to lead, plays a factor in how well your pieces move, so adding more rules to that would make this game much more complex and interesting. It's going to be a lot to read through in a light novel, to be sure, and I have a feeling this game would be of such a scale that it might take 2 light novels to write, but is a game I'm really looking forward to. Granted, I don't need it anytime soon. I would love to get as many light novels as possible, but I have a feeling, again, with chess being so prominent in a No Game No Life, we're probably going to get 16 volumes overall, and at the very least, Volume 16 will contain that final game, maybe Volumes 15 and 16, but we'll have to wait and see how that plays out. Either way, years of No Game No Life still yet to come, and this final game awaits us at the end. So let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Does my idea of the final chess game of No Game No Light versus the one true God make sense? Or do you have some other ideas? Do you have any other additional rules that might play a factor in this final chess match? I'd be really curious to know your thoughts. But with that being said, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe to the Daily Flugel for new No Game No Life videos every Wednesday and Saturday. And if you want to see some games played live, make sure to check out the Twitch channel as well, as I stream every Tuesday and Saturday. And I will see you guys in the next video. Ashente.